Archbishop, thank you for taking the time to speak with us after such a long week of meetings and discussions with your brother bishops.
Well, I'm grateful for the opportunity, and I'm glad to be back home.
Oh yeah, home is good. The bishops' meetings are covered extensively by Catholic media, but not all Catholics keep tabs on the changes in leadership. What would you say is the most important outcome for everyday American Catholics from this meeting?
Say probably things. One is the letter on the Eucharist as the source and summit of our lives as Catholics was approved a very, very large majority. Probably the second thing is the approval of the bishops, the Eucharistic revival, which will begin first on a diocesan level and then will culminate in 2023 at a Eucharistic Congress.
That's really beautiful, and they kind of tie together a clarification of what we believe about the Eucharist and then a big celebration from the bottom up about what we believe in and how that manifests itself in the Eucharist. The elections are a really big deal, Archbishop, and Father Michael Fuller of the Diocese of Rockford, Illinois, was elected the new General Secretary after the scandalous resignation of Monsignor Burrill. What duties does he take on for the next 5 years?
He would be basically day-to-day manager of the States Conference of Catholic Bishops. All of the lay employees, the priests who work for the conference on a day-to-day basis, really directs operations. In a certain sense, is the executive officer for the conference. He would be the one that the conference depends on for the day-to-day question.
And for managing staff?
Excuse me?
And for managing staff as well?
Correct.
Well, we'll be praying for him for sure.
When positions become vacant, he would be the one who surfaces that's for them.
That's an important role. Some considered a different election a little bit of a surprise, the election of Bishop Lopes to lead the Committee on Divine Worship. What can you tell us about the ordinariate and why this role is so important?
Well, I think it's the first thing that's very important to remember is that Bishop Lopes, although he's the of the ordinariate of the chair, he's not a former Anglican. He's was a diocesan priest of Archdiocese of San Francisco, and so he's very much a part of Latin tradition in the church. So I think he'll bring a great deal of richness to the role. He'll spend a number of years working Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith at the Holy See. So he's certainly a very authoritative voice as well.
He brings all of that expertise with him. What about Bishop Flores, who was elected? He's now chairman-elect of the Doctrine Committee. He focused a lot on the Synod on Synodality. What did he say in his report?
He basically talked about the mechanics of we're participating in this first year of the Synod on the diocesan level, which of course then will lead to our contributions from the United States, which then with Canada will perform the continental contribution as well. So he basically talked about the mechanisms and how that will be for us here in the United States. And of course, he's a relatively accomplished theologian himself. So he'll certainly bring all of those talents with him to the Doctrine Committee.
I know that's an important committee for us as we walk into this really important moment to apply what we learned and what you voted on in this Eucharistic document. And with the Eucharistic revival, it featured so prominently. What was the motivation for it? Not to put you on the spot, but some people attributed that to President Biden's election and some of the statements made by pro-abortion candidates, and others to this recent poll that discovered that Americans don't believe in the real presence. What would you say the bishops believe is the true narrative?
I would say that the primary concern for the Eucharistic revival was generated by the report about the high percentage of Catholics who don't understand what we teach or don't profess what we teach. And so there's a desire to, well, the meaning of the word revival, there's a desire to revive the faith that we share, so that people understand what it is that we believe as Catholics, and also hopefully to help them grow appreciation and a love of the Blessed Sacrament, and of course of the celebration of the Mass, which is really the most perfect prayer, and also the ultimate opportunity for us to communicate with Almighty God and to hear His voice. I would say that was the primary motivation in the Eucharistic revival. Will also be a new study. I hesitate to call it a survey, but a new study in terms of what Catholics really do believe.
Well, that's a really important pastoral role that the bishops need to take up. How does this document then, it was criticized for not having enough fire, and by fire I don't mean that it was punitive in any way, but inspiring, to truly bring the faithful into a new appreciation of the Eucharist and fulfill that mission of providing clarity. Do you think it could have been more inspirational?
Well, I personally much like the way it begins with that image, which I think for most of us remains in our memories of March 2020, with the Holy Father all by himself with the Blessed Sacrament in an empty Peter's Square. Lived in Rome for 19 years. I can count probably on one hand the number of times I've seen the square with no one in it. I think that was a very inspired way to begin this reflection. I suppose because it is a document of a doctrine, also teaches the ramifications of that doctrine, not really not meant to be something that going to spark a lot of attention. I hope it sparks devotion. I think the points that were made were very clear. Also, in terms of the reception of Holy Communion, what's involved there. So, could it have been more flashy? I suppose. But remember, you have a document written by 100 men, many of whom are studious. So I suppose it tends to rest with the study.
Well, I hope that we will apply it with great vigor and great enthusiasm for the Eucharist. And I know that that's something that Archbishop Christophe Pierre encouraged all of you to do as the Pope's representative in the U.S. Thank you so much, Archbishop. I really appreciate the clarity you bring to this.
No, you're very welcome. You're very welcome.